Welcome to A Taste for the Road. My name is Scott, and welcome to this 2019 Mustang GT. So today we're going to be reviewing this on some back roads in Virginia, outside of Washington. We're going to be hitting a nice lunch stop at Front Porch in the Plains, Virginia, and ultimately try to encourage you to go out and explore and try some new things, maybe in a Mustang GT. So I think a great place to start, and a very obvious one, is right up front over this blue paintwork is a wonderful 5-liter V8 that I have been thoroughly enjoying today. Made it as this example has, with a 6-speed manual transmission. It's a real joy. I think what's been most surprising to me has been just how sophisticated the engine is, and that it has, beyond what I've experienced in the past with V8s of various flavors and sizes, it has 3 voices. There's this quieter voice. I'm at about 3,000 RPM right now. If we push it up, it gets deeper and it bellows. And then as you get closer towards the 7,000 RPM mark, it really just starts to sing. It reminds me actually a bit of an AMG engine, which I didn't think I would ever say, but having ridden or tested one earlier in the year, an older one, but a real gem, the 6.2 liter, it reminds me of that in some real significant ways. 6-speed manual by Getrag is really nice as well. I would say, having also done or reviewed the Camaro, the 1LE earlier this year too. I'll include some links up around here if you're interested in taking a look. This is a really very, very smooth and nice unit. At least from my vantage point, I think this is actually a little bit better than the other one, than the Camaro, although the Chevys is very good too. Each gear is very precise. They're spread out nicely, so even if I were to close my eyes, while stopped of course, I could easily determine which gear I was in and flip back and forth very, very easily. It mates well with the clutch, as I would hope that it would. The clutch, however, does feel a little bit, I'd like it to be in the middle for engagement. It's more towards the top, but again, you can easily go ahead and adjust for that with just a little bit of experience. Extending things out into the chassis, again, another surprise. This is really a very taut, very tight car in the overall dynamics department. The suspension here is fixed, so this does not have the magnetic dampers. It also does not have the upgraded Brembo system, but both are very good. I have to give Ford engineers a lot of credit with the fixed settings for these dampers and springs. Very compliant, but still very controlled on the road. Off camera earlier, while I was testing out and filming, the over railroad junctions on some pretty lousy pavement, frankly, it actually soaked those bumps up very, very nicely. And again, in a way that when I've experienced cars like this in the past from the States, here it hasn't always produced pleasant vibes. Extending things out into the interior, I'll start with the good. So it has I think a classic Mustang look and feel to it, which is very pleasing. The early 60s models, or the originals, were I think just a classy place to be, and a real high watermark for the brand and for the marquee. And they've extended that here. The newer, if you will, infotainment system, this does have the Sync 3, is also really quite good, and they've just done a nice job of integrating it well, marrying, I should say, old and new in very nice ways. Other areas where the Mustang shines inside are these seats, which are the basic cloth seats, but are really very, very comfortable, provide me with lower back support. Also, my upper torso have allowed me to move back and forth very, very nicely, and again, are, I think, more than suitable. The visibility around the car is also welcome and nice. I won't belabor that versus the Camaro, which is more than a little bit challenged, but it is something that's definitely appreciated. Earlier this morning, for example, in going to pick up this car, we had some very, very thick fog, which is unusual. And even though I was in an area that I knew roughly where I was, the visibility was horrible. 5 cars ahead, I couldn't see a single thing. And to be able to see a little bit better was certainly a welcome addition to my morning travels as I was making my way out here into the rural areas of Virginia to obviously do this review and do a bit of filming. Concerning Sync 3, the infotainment system that this has as an option, it's a very nice unit. It's been easy to figure out exactly what I need to do. I didn't do any planning ahead of time in terms of reviewing a manual online or anything like that, and it's been quite simple to get temperature and heat and other settings. Not been a problem at all. I know some have fussed, I guess, about the font and maybe it being a little bit more sophisticated, but I give them credit for giving me something that works flawlessly. It's fast and really quite intuitive and is easy to read with or without my glasses on, which I certainly appreciate. On the topic of competition, there are obviously the two big players, the Chevy Camaro in particular, and also the Challenger. Each of them coming in moderately hot forms, and then obviously can dial things up to insane, much like this with the 350 and now the new GT 500 with 760 horsepower, which is absolutely crazy, but a story for another day. What I do think is interesting, though, beyond that, is some of the, if you will, international or European competitors. So every year, about a third of all Mustangs with this current 6th generation, the S550 that this is, are actually shipped to international markets. The Germans consume over 10,000 of them a year. Even the Bulgarians have been buying around 15 or so. 25% end up going to China. And each of them, or overwhelmingly, they are the V8 with either this obviously manual or the newer 10-speed, and they're loaded. And what's interesting, I think, is why so many are in fact going overseas and the competition around that, and why people, say the Germans, for example, would go ahead and purchase one of these. Beyond that, it has a great and muscular V8. It's at a relatively affordable price point of around, say, 44,000 euros to start and go up from there. The average ticket price for an international one is about 54,000, which means it's absolutely loaded. And so I think that in each of these respective markets, there's other competition, but it's obvious that folks who want one of these want a true and kind of full American experience. We'll occasionally look at a Camaro. Camaro sells, I think, around 900 units or so in the German market, but nothing compared to this. And that, as taken as a whole, whether it's here in the US, it's Canada, it's China, it's elsewhere, that the enduring brand equity, that what Mustang means to people worldwide for Ford and for lots and lots of households is very compelling, and that even though there are competitors, and there have been for its entire run of over 50 years, that nevertheless this always or almost always outsells every other competitor by a very significant margin. And then finally, before our lunch stop, is the topic of value, which I always like to cover in these reviews as I don't see it elsewhere, and it's just kind of a fascinating topic to see how the markets respond to vehicles like this or anything that I review. And it's a really interesting one for the Mustang as well, because this thing lists this standard GT, the non-premium version, for here in the US, about $37,000 before any options. But right now, we're here in the latter half of November, a little bit before our American Thanksgiving, and in searching around area dealers, doing the usual thing on Cycle Trader and elsewhere, these brand new V8 GT maybe an option or two, but not with the premium pack, and of course not with all the extra goodies on it. It's not $37,000, but is about $30,000. They are discounting them approximately $7,000. The 4 cylinders range from about 5 to 6.5. Even the 350s, the GT 350s, I found a few on dealer lots that were a little bit less, but we'll focus on this. $7,000 off. This is a $30,000 automobile, around $6,000 or so less than the average price of a new car here in the States, that has a 5-liter V8 up front, a 6-speed manual, or if you'd prefer, a 10-speed automatic, rear-wheel drive with the level of sophistication that this thing offers, even in base form. 14-inch disc brakes up front, 13s in the back, they're just fine. Nice fixed dampers, etc. Really very, very compelling value. It's difficult for me to think of another vehicle outside, of course, of a Camaro or something like that, but most people fall into really liking the Camaro or really wanting the Mustang, that for competitors, the Japanese, for example, or the Germans or elsewhere, that you just don't find this sort of thing, and to find these types of bargains, if you will, is, I think, just amazing. It's amazing to be able to find a $30,000 car that has this type of power, a 6-speed manual transmission, and the types of feature sets that this offers at this price point in 2019. It's amazing. So we are just inside of the hamlet of the Plains, Virginia. The human here could definitely use some refueling. His empty light is flashing away and has for a little while here, excuse me. So let's go ahead and head over to Front Porch, have a nice lunch. If you happen to be in the area, you should know about them. If you don't, and you do come to visit, Front Porch is something that should be on your list. And let's head on in, and I'll see you there. That was a very nice lunch at Front Porch. Ended up having a burrata salad, added some salmon to it. It was all on a bed of nice fresh arugula with some tomatoes and other little goodies. There was a bit of extra room, so I ended up being roped into some pumpkin pie with a little bit of fresh cream. And on a previous visit, it was pizza and their what they call gelato bombs. So think gelato wrapped in dark chocolate in a ball the size of about an American baseball, and you basically have it. It was also very good. There'll be a traditional written review of Front Porch on atasteoftheroad.com once this video drops, and I'll include a link below as well so you can get to it if you so desire. It's definitely worth a visit here in the Plains. So getting back to the Mustang and to some things up here, what is it about the car that I think is special? Well, there's a poise to this car and a polish that I did not expect today. I suspect it's because it is designed for global markets, whether that's traveling or in Beijing or it's in Germany, etc. But it does give you, I think, just an additional range of skill sets. After all, it's got GT in its name, and as a Gran Turismo that could go from London to the south of France, it's not just a silly notion. It's completely legit, and this base format with the V8, I think, is just a real sweet spot, both in terms of performance and cost per performance, capability, and just, again, the setup. I'm sure the magnetic ride is lovely. Leather seats are always, well received, and other bits and pieces that'll jack up the price, but also make things a bit, more enjoyable. But I think this base package with the V8 is just an incredible sweet spot, and as it stands right now, $7,000 discount to bring this to essentially 30 grand before any negotiation whatsoever is just very, very impressive. Other notes are just, again, the livability around it. Others have noted it. Visibility, the size of the trunk, some of the detailing around on the exterior. I think the front lights are quite attractive. The rear lights, of course, traditional as they are, as they cascade back and forth, you know, when lit and moving from left to right. Again, it looks the part and absolutely feels the part of an American muscle car, but also a more refined GT at this particular point. Earlier today when I was filming, while the car obviously was stationary, I had a couple in a British Racing Green Jaguar stop by and say, hey, that blue Mustang is really attractive. And they were absolutely correct. We had a brief chat about the car and about what it has and so forth. And you can just tell it resonates with lots of different people, not just pony car enthusiasts, but others as well who, you know, run in something that is much more expensive and in some cases European. So I think this just about sums up where the strengths are. The weaknesses, it's the interior bits. I do hope that Mustang takes the time just to raise the game, the plastics game, if you will, just a little bit, or give you the option at this level to put some aluminum pieces in it, or to do something that just elevates the interior so that with the exterior detailing and strong panel gaps and whatnot, that they being tight, that the interior is a little bit, you know, tighter from an aesthetic point of view. I think there could be, you know, just some small changes without it being expensive, and it would simply elevate this car's game quite a bit, and just feel nicer to be in inside overall and over time, as this car, or, you know, any car, is going to go ahead and age. It's been an enjoyable experience today, no question. It's put some smiles on my face while the camera's here, smiles on my face when the camera has not been. Yes. One downside is the electronic nannies can be a little bit aggressive. That truck was probably at least 20 feet away, and it was already alerting. Thankfully, you can turn it off. I just came back from lunch and forgot, but they are a little bit aggressive. What other things to note? This blue paint has also gotten some eyeballs today, and it looks lovely. Whether it's been a combination of gray skies, but also some blue, it's definitely a flattering color, and makes this Mustang with its detailing look very, very flattering as well. So I think that just about does it. I hope this video was informative and enjoyable. Please give me a thumbs up if you can. Subscribe if you'd enjoy being alerted to new videos as they become available. Don't forget to press the little notification bell so you'll get notified once a new video goes ahead and drops. Most importantly, please go out and create your own adventure, whether it's to see something that you do know in a new way or something completely new, and then share that with us in the comments below here on YouTube or on Facebook. If you're on Facebook there, I'd be happy to connect. Instagram as well, and of course on a tastefortheroad.com. I've got all of those platforms, keeping them up to date with this project. So with that, I think I will go ahead and bid you adieu, and I will see you in the next video.